Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast. My name's Rory Paquette. I know you know that, but I just like to remind myself and you guys to how lucky and grateful I am to be sitting here in this chair, doing what I love doing, and it's all because of you. It's all because of you folks. When we made the move to 7 days a week in content, most people I talked to thought I was nuts, and I mean like certifiably nuts. But you know what? You folks didn't. You folks said 7 days of content. Phew, sweet, bring it. And you turned our Sunday episodes into some of our best ones ever. So you folks really have stepped up. You've come through for us. I could not be more grateful. And I promise that we're going to keep bringing you powerful men with powerful content on this channel and make sure that we make it all worth your while. Folks, if you're friends of the program, and I know that you are, then you know what time it is. That's right. It's time to pay a couple bills and let me take a sip of my preferred beverage, which tonight we have on ice. That's right. Big time stuff. So, oh, there it is. Deep, dark, rich, bold, and beautiful. Just like my wife. That is the magnificent taste of Freedom Hill Coffee at Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up, check them out. Folks, they do all the right things for all the right reasons, including supporting veterans, which you all know are incredibly important to us here at the Power Man Podcast. Folks, if you out there, if you're a veteran, then I want to say thank you to you and your family for all the sacrifices you've made. It's because of what you do that we're able to sit here and do what we do. So thank you very much for your sacrifices, all of you. We're glad you found a home and we love you. Folks, so does Freedom Hill Coffee. At Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Look them up, check them out. Let me get one more sip so I can keep up with this young buck across the table from me here. All right, there we go. We are rocking and rolling tonight. Please welcome to the show. You will never believe this guy's story. I already don't believe it, and I've only heard a little bit of it. When you make the move from corporate IT sales into global mission Christian work, you need to come on our podcast and explain that. So I can't wait to hear from this guy. Please welcome to the show, Matthew Sampias. Matt, how you doing, man?
Hey Rory, doing well, thanks.
All right. I
How's it
love that you
going?
came on the show. Thank you, brother.
Oh yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Greetings from sunny and warm Brisbane, Australia.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're all the way across the world. I'm sitting here in Indiana. Most of my folks know that at this point, but you got an interesting story about your job. You got an interesting story about your relationship. I have had the wonderful opportunity to meet your absolutely fantastic wife. She's an author and she's been on two of my podcasts, and that's how I got to connect with you. So I'm excited. Matt, go ahead and tell us, a little bit about you. Kind of like, where you're from, and what's your story, brother?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rory. Yeah, look, well, right now I live in Brisbane, Australia, as mentioned before. I've been here since about 2017. And as you'll notice, I don't speak with an Australian accent, and that is definitely not an Australian flag that's hanging on my door.
Right on.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Michigan, from Grand Rapids.
Nice.
Grew up in Colorado, in Denver, and then through as most of us do through the course of life, we find different ways, take different paths, you have different adventures, and mine has led me here, and has led me to, like I said, live here in Brisbane now for the past 8, 9 years. I'm married to a lovely lady. I have a lovely Australian lady. I have three Australian American children who speak with mostly American accents, and every day is a new adventure, new opportunity for all of us. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, all right. So let's just start there. I love this story with you guys. Now, your wife is Australian. You're American. You're in Australia. You're a father. You're a husband. You got three kids. How'd you guys meet? First of all, let's start with that.
Sure. Well, as I was telling you earlier, there's a couple different versions of the story that we could tell. Um, the one I like to use at barbecues is that it was back in my Top Gun days when I was playing beach volleyball in Los Angeles,
Uh,
and I met this lovely lady, and then one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I'm living here. But that's the short version.
gotcha. All right, from Top Gun.
The
That's the short version. All right.
Yeah. So we met kind of through mutual interest in some different Christian faith groups. So
Awesome.
we were both kind of involved, and we had some both had some involvement with this group called Magus, which is it's a Catholic group. It's Christian focused, and it's all about trying to do work, God's work for other people. And so we both had some affiliation with that. We kind of met through that, and then through the course of kind of just talking about different things online through that experience, we realized that we actually had a lot of mutual friends in both in the States and in Australia. So I went to a Jesuit high school. My wife Katie was involved in a lot of Jesuit and service opportunities here at that time. And so yeah, we realized we knew a lot of the same people, and so that was pretty cool. And then she said, well, look, I'm coming up to LA. I'm coming up to the US to do just like a Kontiki tour, just like a visit bus tour. And why don't we get together? So we decided to get together in Los Angeles, and so we caught up there, and we had a we you know we I think instantly we just had a connection, and it just everything was just very we felt really at ease with each other. And so the first week we had in LA. We had a couple days that we just caught up in LA. Katie got on her tour, and then the next weekend she was going to Las Vegas, and for the end of the tour. And I remember asking her, I said, "Oh, do you mind if I, drive up and catch up with you and your tour group in Las Vegas?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure, sure, why not?" So me and one of my friends at the time, we drove up to Las Vegas that second weekend, and at the end of that weekend, we spent a lot of time with the tour group. Her and I spent some more time just kind of getting to know each other. And we decided at the end of that we wanted to keep in touch, and we wanted to see where it went. And so then one thing led to another, and then the next thing I knew, about a year later, she moved to the U.S., and we decided to give it a shot. So she managed to put her job here in Australia on hold. She moved to the U.S., managed to pick up a job in marketing in California, where I was living at the time, and we started to make a go of it. So yeah,
Wow.
that's the origins, I
Gotcha.
guess. So
Gotcha. So in
yeah.
typical, Top Gun fashion, you brought a wingman with you to Vegas. I noticed that.
Correct. Yes, I did. Yeah.
All right.
He
Perfect.
was a pretty good wingman too. He put on a good show.
You
So
must have
yeah.
done a good job. Yeah. Okay. It worked out for you. So you guys, you get together though, and you're in the United States. And now, do you guys sort of start building your life in the United States and then decide, hey, we're going to pack everything up and move to Australia? Or is it more of a back and forth, scenario? How does that happen? Because that's kind of fascinating. People in different states have a hard time. I can't even imagine different countries, different continents.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Rory. That's it. That's a great point, because and I had the same experience, because there had been people I had attempted to date before. We had attempted to have relationships before, and the distance across states or across coasts or whatever was always a challenge. So I guess my thinking is just like, when it really is the right thing, and when it really is God's plan, it works out no matter what. And we saw that in a bunch of different. We've seen that in a bunch of different ways in our play out in some cases in our relationships. A good example of that was us us getting married. We were having trying to figure out which country we wanted to live in. So we were in the States for a year and a half. And then we were thinking, well, what do we want to do with our lives, and where do we want to raise our family and build our family? And we said, well, look, let's set our sights on Australia for a couple different reasons. There's Katie's family is here, is all here. There's a lot of support for family and kids, but we were kind of like, well, how's this all going to work? Because we've got I don't have a visa. We don't have visas to either's country. Katie had a work visa at the time
Yeah.
to the U.S. But, how that all going to work? And so we just we prayed about it. We thought about it. I I put together, my package of all my stuff and sent it off to the Australian government. And kind of we just crossed our fingers. And they said, oh, it could take up to 18 months. And we were like, oh my gosh, like we don't want it to take that long. And then within 2 months, I had my response and I had my approval, and it was just like ready to go. Super easy. Yeah, it was
Wow.
great. And I didn't expect that. And so we were kind of like, okay, well, that's really helpful. And then it was the same thing with like, planning our wedding. We decided to plan it in Australia after that. And everything kind of worked out for that. They had the date we wanted. They had everything. Everything just kind of fell into place. And I feel very fortunate and very blessed because it was almost a little bit like it was too easy. All the things that we anticipated being really difficult with us being together all managed to somehow work out. It was the same thing with Katie finding her job in the States. It was the same thing where she looked for a long time, but once she managed to find something and it worked out and they were able to get her a visa, and it was like wow. I'm just I'm always amazed. I always see God at work in all those things. So yeah, that's I guess that's what I can say about that,
Right.
I suppose.
I was just going to say, it sounds like God had a pretty big hand in all of it,
Yeah.
for this working out for you guys, which is amazing and is great. The fact that you both sort of met, through a faith-based activity, and obviously faith plays a very large part in your lives. How has that made it, easier, or helped pave the way, or made it easier to stay together during the droughts? I mean, where have you been able to kind of lean on faith, the two of you, in putting this whole thing
Yeah.
together and building a family?
That's a great point. Look, up until I guess one thing I've learned, I feel like I've learned throughout the whole process of being with Kate, being married and finding my partner. Really, is that for us, faith has really been the foundation. And it was interesting because up until that point, I had never kind of really put that in my criteria. When I was in the US and I was moving around and I was, whatever, being Mr. Top Gun, Mr. Whatever,
Right.
going and playing beach volleyball. Like I never really put faith at the top of the list of what I was really looking for in somebody. And it wasn't until that point that until that things really started to work out for me in that department. And one of the things I really appreciated, or I still appreciate, is the fact that we do have that that is a cornerstone for us, and it's something that we actively try to encourage with our children, something we try to grow in together. I know, my she's been on your podcast talking about her book that she's written that has a faith-based Christian element to it. And
Hmm.
so that is, for us, we're constantly trying to find ways to grow in our faith, both individually, but also together, as well as with our family and our kids, which is really exciting. So
Yeah, that's amazing. It's great that you're bringing the kids up that way too. We need more of that. Now, this is my own ignorance of Australian life, but I know there's in some countries it's not that easy to raise a Christian family and practice an open Christian faith. What's that like in Australia? Is it ready and welcome and no problem and lots of freedom, or is it more like a little persecuted? Kind of like it is in other countries and it's becoming here in the United States.
that's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting point. So there's a couple different ways I see it. So like in the U.S., your faith is it's interesting because in the U.S. there's a lot there's just so many more sheer numbers of people, and there's so many more. There's just this when you talk about like Christianity and you talk about the life of like living your life as a Christian, there's so many different communities. There's so many different takes on Christianity, and there's like a place for everybody. It's just this sheer number of people, and you don't realize that like until you move to a place like Australia. Is we've only got 20 million people in the whole country, so it's a pretty kind of micro version of the U.S. or of a Western society in some cases.
Yeah.
There's kind of two, as there are, I'm sure, in the U.S. There's pretty clear kind of two elements. There's one element that thinks that everything should be really secular. We should secularize society, and that there's a everybody's every religion is valid. Everybody's okay, which is, like, I mean, I'm all for peace and happiness. But they're always the ones pushing the narrative to say, like, they're the ones who are pushing this narrative that, like, they're in Australia, statistically there are Christianity is statistically shrinking. Now, I don't know if I completely trust those numbers. They're saying, like, oh, year on year that there's less and less Christians. But what I would say is that there are actually some really, really amazing areas of growth in Christianity in our society. And there's some really awesome ways to connect with your faith here. We have really amazing communities. Like, I know Hillsong is really big here. We've also got other, I know the Baptists have a really big reach. Half of the churches, or sorry, half of the schools in my state are run by the Catholic Church. So there's while it's kind of like, while they're trying to kind of societally, the government and other elements might be trying to kind of, diminish the role of Christianity. I think it's interesting in our society here. It has much deeper kind of roots, if I can say that. Like it's still rooted in a lot of our societal institutions, which is really encouraging. And I think that's leading the way for new growth. I think that there will be a lot of new growth, and I'm really excited about that. So,
All right. I
yeah.
appreciate you letting me know that. I mean, I really honestly did not know. That wasn't a leading question. That was, I have no
No,
idea. So I
yeah.
appreciate the education. And it is interesting, the differences, the nuances, when it comes to that. So then how does somebody who is an American goes over to Australia and who's in corporate IT sales wake up one day and go, you know what I want to do? I want to go into mission work. That seems like it's a bit of a leap.
Yeah, yeah, you can say that. It's a bit of a jump. I've never been one to shy away from taking a leap like that, but this one was probably the most I don't want to say difficult, but the most kind of confronting one I've had to make in my life professionally. And
Sure.
part of the reason was just because now I've got kids involved and family involved, and it's not just me anymore being a, footloose and fancy free guy who can go and, do whatever I want. Oh, I want to move to Europe, I'll move to Europe. Or I want to move here, do that. Okay, I'll do that. So I guess from my perspective, it like I think I told the story on one of the podcasts. That's the company that I work with. But basically, it all started during COVID, as most great stories of our time do, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Right.
Um, it's during COVID, we're all locked down, we're all in our living rooms, and I'm watching streaming TV, and I come across this. I used to be into aviation really big when I was young, when I lived in Colorado.
Okay.
I got my pilot's license there. I was really always really excited to be flying in just anything had to do with airplanes. So I was like, okay, I want to rekindle this now that I got some time and I'm just kind of sitting around. What am I going to do? So I start looking at people flying small airplanes off the coast of Australia, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to get out of here, if COVID doesn't end, and I'm going to get out of here, then I'm going to have to find a way, and maybe it's going to be a small airplane. So I saw this guy. I ran across this guy who flies mission aircraft to do mission work in Papua New Guinea. And what's really interesting about what he's doing in these videos, because he goes through all of his checklists, he goes through exactly how he's flying the airplane, what he's doing, but he's flying this like Cessna Caravan through the mountains of Papua New Guinea, which is really incredibly dangerous, because they're just like right through the mountains. And he's landing on these airstrips that are literally carved in the side. They're just carved into the side of mountains. And he's landing there, and he's dropping off whatever supplies, doing his mission work that way, and then he's turning around and flying back out. And you just see this, and I'm watching this. I'm like, this is just incredible. I can't believe that this guy's doing it. And so I started looking into it more and more, and started digging into it. And then I found this kind of whole, I guess I was to call it a subculture, but like a whole thing of mission aviation. That it's actually a really big and growing thing, where people are using aircraft to reach isolated people or to spread the word of God to word of God as well as to do God's work in many places throughout the world that you wouldn't normally be able to get to. And so I just was like, wow, this is incredible. I just had to learn more. And that led me to Mission Aviation Fellowship, which is where I'm working today. And again, God working, I think, through, in all things. Like I reached out to them, and I just said, "Hey, I'm just curious. I just want to know if you need a volunteer. I don't know how I can help, but if there's a way to help, I'd be curious to see how you can help." And they came back to me and they said, "Oh, hey, we need somebody to do our global data for us. We need somebody to do like data collection and work on all of our data, which is something I really enjoy doing. I love to do. Is that something that you'd be interested in?" And and I was like, "Well, yeah, if that's what you need, then absolutely." And so then, we one thing led to another. We started talking about stuff, and I understood kind of what I was getting into. I got the job offer, and it was a lot less than what I was currently making in IT sales, and I was like, "Ooh, it's just so torn because." On the one hand, I had like I had a job that I was like, like I wasn't really going anywhere with it, but I was supporting my family, and my family we were doing really well with that.
Sure.
And then on the other hand, I have this like just amazing opportunity that like who knows where it could take me, and it's something that like it's that adventure, like the adventure side of me is like I really want that. I really want to try to do that. So I'm trying to reconcile all this, and that's really where prayer came into it, and just saying, well, look, if there is if this is what I'm supposed to do, then show me the way. And so what ended up happening was, my wife ended up getting the opportunity at that time to take a couple extra days at work, which was going to help make up the difference, for us financially. And that allowed me the flexibility to be able to go and do that. And I was really excited. And so I went and I did it. And it's just been, that was about a year ago. And it's been a roller coaster ride ever since, but it honestly it's so much fun, and every single day is a new challenge.
My goodness. Mission Aviation Fellowship? Is that
Yeah, that's the organization that I'm working for. Yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mission Aviation Fellowship. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's brother God's hand, period. I mean, all these things work out. The one job they have is an IT job, basically doing data collection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
My
amazing.
and we still joke about it. Even last night, I think my wife was like, she's like, I can't believe it's crazy. All of your weird hobbies are just all kind of coming together. You got IT, you got aviation, you got your Christians. It's all coming together. It's just
Right?
like it's just incredible. So yeah,
Yeah. No, that's how he plans it. He plans it in his time. So we don't really get a vote, even though we think we do.
yeah,
But no, that's wonderful, man. It really is. Let me ask you this. You moved to Australia. You're doing this now. You and your wife seem like you guys have a pretty good working relationship, like as parents, as a couple. You go to left, she goes over here, so on. You go to do the mission work, she picks up a day of work. It seems like you guys really work together pretty well. What's the transition been like? um, from America to Australia, but also from couple to father of three.
yeah. That's a really good question as well. We always knew we wanted children.
Hmm.
I think, yeah. It was one of those things we just kind of embarked on without really knowing. I guess that's the way I kind of look at it. I feel about it is we knew we wanted it. We knew we wanted to do it. I wasn't the guy who is like always, like dreaming of being a dad. But to be honest, it's actually been one of the most rewarding and most amazing experiences of my life. And it is a transition. Look, it is definitely a transition. It's challenging in some ways. I guess the way I would describe it, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners are probably in my same shoes, but the way I would describe it is like it's a it's you just have to balance things differently. It's you're moving from being a you're increasing your tasks, and your task mode is really going, going up as you have more and more children. But it's your ability as a couple, I think, to be able to find beauty and happiness in that, and in achieving those tasks, and seeing those results in your kids. I like to think of my kids as one of, like, probably sounds a little weird, but like, not as an investment, but as like my contribution, like one of my biggest contributions to the world. Like one of the things that I felt like when they came into the world was that, these are the th these are the people that will hopefully outlive me, and these are the people who are going to carry on my legacy. And so for me, like that's really awesome, and really amazing. And I want to do everything I can to bring them up in, in happiness and faith and love, and allow them the best opportunity that they have. And having a real strong partnership, I think, is part of that. Like working together, understanding again how to find value and beauty in everyday life's, tasks, and then also still carve out time for yourself and your relationship. Even if there's a lot of planning involved, and there's a lot of, like, okay, well, we can only have a date on this night of the week. We can only do it, can only go out to dinner at this time, or do this.
Right.
Um, it's compromise, but it's also, like I said, like finding the beauty and the value and all of that as well, of what you're building together, I think is really cool.
Nice. And how old are the kids?
Yeah, I've got three. So I've got seven. I've got a daughter who's seven. I got a daughter who's five, and I got a son who's three.
Wow, you
Um,
have young kids.
yeah, they're
Holy
all they're
cow.
all they're all fairly young. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's great. I remember those days, sort of, but it's all kind of a blur right now. But all mine are empty. I'm an empty nester, so all mine are grown. Mine are 32, 25, and 21.
There you go.
So yeah, it's they're a far cry from 7 and 3 and stuff like that. But um,
Yeah.
as someone who grew up in the States, as you watch your kids grow, as you help them, sort of develop as, children, as they do, and you fill up that role as father, uh, how is being a kid trying to grow up in Australia different than being a kid trying to grow up in the States?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Look, I mean, it's been a long time. I think the States has changed a lot since I grew up.
Probably. I
I think
think it's
that
safe
might
to
be
say.
fair to say. I haven't been, I mean, I've been back to the States. I haven't like lived in the States, for a long time, but um
It's as bad as you think it is. And I can say
One
that
of
on
one
this
of
podcast.
one
So,
of one of my one of my so side just a side note. One of my friends was visiting, he was visiting Cairns. Actually, I was up in Cairns for work, and he was just randomly visiting Cairns with his family. And we sat down and we had lunch, and one of his comments to me was like, "This seems like a great place to just sit back and watch whatever happens, in the other part of the world." And I was like, "Yeah, I hate to say it, but that's kind of how I feel sometimes." But um, yeah, look, it's different here. Well, let me just put it this way. I feel like here, it's less, because it's smaller, and because it's a little bit more like a collectivist mindset, if I can say that.
mhm.
It's a little bit easier, I feel like, than right now, to raise kids. That's my opinion. When I guess, to compare it to how I was growing up, we've got a lot of the same stuff. Australia is a little bit probably behind the U.S. We're not completely on the forefront. We kind of let U.S. and everybody else go first, and then we follow along. So we still have stuff like, I mean, I don't know, people still watch TV shows. Like, we're not all streaming, even though we've got that. The kids generally, like, I feel comfortable, like, taking my kids places. Everything's pretty family friendly. There's a lot of family support. We have, Katie's mom is, 10 minutes away, which is fantastic. We've got a lot of family around. So there's a lot of community. There's a lot of focus on, kind of everybody getting together, and being together, which is really good. It's really nice. So I really like that aspect of it. In terms of raising my kids in faith, we also have there's three different Christian schools just within a probably a 10-mile radius of us, and just being able to have that choice and that and the ability to kind of choose, which one's got the right community for us and for our kids, and then the ability to then integrate our family into that community and be part of that is really cool as well. So yeah, I guess, like, to answer your question in a short way, it's that it harkens me back to my childhood and a lot of the things I really enjoyed about it, and I'm hopefully getting to pass some of that on to my kids by virtue of being able to live here and to do that. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and it's a blessing for you and your family. So I'm glad you folks get to enjoy that. That's great.
Yeah.
The what's been the most difficult part for you as an American going over there and transferring yourself into the world of Australia?
That's a great question. I was thinking about that actually today because today they're in the news. I don't know if you've seen, but our prime minister here, it's all over the news. Our prime minister was over in Washington signing a big deal for rare earth minerals with President Trump, and that was actually it's actually funny because here in Australia, I think I haven't heard any of the reaction yet. I know it's on the news, but I know this week somebody is going to ask me what's the deal with that, or they're going to ask me something about it because I'm American. I should know everything. I had to, because I'm the local American, I had to personally sign off. I had to give my opinion on that agreement before it happened. And
Right? Yeah, you should know it all, right? Don't you know that guy? You're both Americans, yeah.
exactly. And I'm, and I know everything about American politics, and I'm up on everything. And yeah. So I think from that perspective, probably the most challenging thing has been, the Australians have been very welcoming, and they're very very beautiful, peaceful people. Like I really have made some amazing friends here, and I love everybody to death. Um, Sometimes I think I'm probably so good at blending in and being Australian that people forget that I'm actually American also, and so I get to be party to certain conversations and certain. You can imagine the last election cycles that we've had. There's been plenty of conjecture, plenty of people with lots of opinions, different opinions that are happy to share it publicly, not even knowing there's an American around. And sometimes I say, like, I try to be really nice and constructive about this, but I also say, look, if you had somebody from, let's just pick another country like Nigeria, or pick a country, some other random country somewhere, would and you had an opinion on their government and what's happening in their country, would you go up to them and would you start telling them about what you think about Nigerian politics, or about, I don't know, Burmese politics? Choose your country. And they kind of makes them stop and think, like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no, you're right. That's a good point. And oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I forgot you were American also. And like, that's really nice. It's a compliment. I appreciate it. But it's yeah, so I've had a couple times where I've had to just kind of be like, guys, like, you know, please stop trashing my country. Like, and, oh yeah, yeah, sorry, we didn't realize it. So anyway, yeah, that's if that's the worst thing that comes with living here, then that's what it is. But
Sure. All right. So the worst part about being in Australia, the hardest part is being American.
well, is yeah, well, is yeah, being both is it's an interesting path to walk, especially in
Sure.
our current times when everybody's got lots of opinions about, when America is front and center and leading
Right.
the way, really, and everybody's got opinions about it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. For sure. All right. No, I can appreciate that. And that's got to be a tough spot to be in, because you're trying to maintain sort of peace, on both sides, with both of your
yeah,
adoptive countries. So I understand that. Now, you started a men's group of some kind over there?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I started a men's group here with a couple of dads from the local. school, and yeah, it's sprouted and taken off. So, yep.
What let's say, tell me what that is, in your world, a men's group over in Australia, like what that encompasses, and kind of what the purpose is behind it, and what made you want to do that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, um, really, I mean, Katie was kind of the impetus for it, if I can say it, my wife.
All right.
So it was kind of formed at a time when it was really formed out of a need to have some sort of fellowship or communion with other men at a time when I think I was really searching for some sort of connection and meaning. And that was really that was when I was really as an American, I mean, as an American by origin, like I do like my work is important to me, and what I'm doing in my life is important to me. And I guess for just maybe just a me thing, like I'm not the type of person who's I have to, for me, I have to have some meaning in my work, and I have to have some direction to really to really feel fulfilled. And that's not to say that I don't find fulfillment elsewhere, but like
Sure.
part of
Sure.
it really is like I'm not the kind of guy who is just gonna sit around and it'd be like, oh, I'm going to work a job I hate for 30 years, just so I can support my family and then be happy with it after that. Like I still have a lot of energy that I want to try to direct towards that. Anyway, long story short, I was in that type of a role where I was like, oh well, I'm probably going to work this job for the next however many years, and everybody's happy, it's supporting my family, but I'm not really finding a lot of meaning in it. I'm not really don't there's not a lot in it emotionally for me. So I was really looking for a way to what do I do with this energy? Where do I channel that? How do I connect with that? And so I went to the guy who's the pastor at the church that we go to, and I sat down with him and I was like, "Do you guys have anything like this, or is there any kind of mechanism for this?" And he was kind of like, well, yeah, we used to have, because the other part of it too is it's like I also wanted to have people, I wanted to connect with people in my age group, because there's a lot of groups like that, but most of those gentlemen, are either retired, or they're in a stage of life where they've got a lot of time to connect and share stories, which is fantastic. But I was really looking for somebody who understood kind of what I was going through, or was in, I don't say a similar situation, but that could relate to where I am in
Yeah,
trying to raise
sure.
kids and have a family in the modern world. Because as many of your listeners probably know, that's a daily challenge.
For sure.
Um, so yeah, so look, I had a chat with the pastor. He kind of said, look, we don't really have anything, but if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. And uh, so I was like, oh crap, that means I got to start a men's group.
Right.
Okay. One other thing I got to do. So I literally just went through my phone, found every single person who I thought, qualified, who was, like a man, a dad, lived in the local area, could meet up, whatever. And I just started a WhatsApp group, and I was just like, hey, do you guys want to catch up for, a drink at the pub, and and just talk about just hang out. Like we did. My whole thing was I didn't want to make it like super organized. Like I didn't want to make it super like um I wanted it to be an open space where it wasn't going to scare people off. People weren't coming to hear an agenda or get a thing. I wanted everybody to just kind of come, show up, we chat, we talk, and that's it. And so yeah, so the first year, so we decided to do it every fortnight, which for you Americans is every 2 weeks. Because I was like, well, every week is too much, so we decided to do it every 2 weeks. That gives us enough time to have fun in between. But yeah, we had the first one, and it went really well, and and then it just grew. It just swelled. We had guys say, "Hey, that was a lot of fun." Like, we started out by, I guess I'll back up. Like we started out by when we all got together, we all introduced ourselves, and then we went around. The first couple times we went around, and everybody got a couple minutes to talk about themselves and just what's going on in their life and what they're talking, what's their thing, what are they talking about. and we all got invested in each other's stories, which is really cool because we started, you walk away from that. We walked away from that evening, and then, in those 2 weeks in between, we're thinking, oh, I wonder what's going to happen with that guy's. He's trying to build a shed in his backyard. I wonder how that went. Oh, this other guy, had this thing at work that he was trying to figure out. Yeah, I wonder how that went for him. And then so the next time you get back together, and we did the same thing, and everybody kind of shares an update. And then you hear at the end, at the end of their little time when they get to talk, then all these questions start coming out. Hey, how'd that go with your trip? Hey, what about this? Did you ever think about this? And then that conversation and that friendship just started to gel, and it just really became deeper and deeper. And then before you know it, we've got other guys saying, "Hey, I've got other friends. Like, can I invite so and so? Yeah, sure, you can invite so and so. Yeah, bring them along. Oh, can I bring this person? Yeah, come on, bring this person." And before you knew it, I remember one night we decided we were trying out a couple different venues, and we tried out one that was an outdoor kind of thing where we had a big long table. And we all sat outside and outdoors, and I remember counting, and I think we had like 15 men at that one. And I remember that was probably about 3 months in, and I was just like, wow, this is really cool to see this many guys getting together, and just, everybody's connecting and sharing and talking. And so, yeah, so that was great. And I mean, since then it's kind of grown and shrank and grown and shrank, and we've gone through different seasons over the past 2 years, I think. But we've gotten to a point where, like, we had a Christmas party last year. That was a lot of fun. We all went and played mini golf together, and we had a big outing to. They have a German club here in Brisbane, so we all went for and had German food for Oktoberfest, and that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just fun. You realize, for me, having male friends or friends who are dads or whatever, was always kind of like, always kind of like, okay, whatever, like, let's get together at the barbecue, we'll talk about golf, or we'll talk about your grass. Everybody here in Australia love to talk about their lawn, so like, oh, we'll talk about our lawn, whatever. And then but this was really cool because we all had this like we all came from different places, we all have different ideas, we all have these mutual connections, and we're all sharing what's going on in our lives, and following each other's stories. And I think that was really cool. And yeah, so we continue to do it today. And it's not really formal. We don't formalize it. It's just a WhatsApp groups like, hey, come show up. But yeah, if there's other guys out there that are seeking that same thing, or like, considering that, maybe that's something you need, like, reach out, find that kind of a group, do what's right for you and your community. But yeah, it's really a powerful experience, and it really made a lot of difference for me in a time when, I was really trying to find some connection, or feel some joy from what I was facing in my life. So.
Nice. No, I mean, that's awesome. That's the only word I can think of. That's just fantastic because it's an in-person men's group where you guys just get together and you just have some camaraderie as men. That's just as fathers. That's really cool. And you're talking about it very casually, but it's very difficult to pull together a men's group because men, by and large, do not congregate together the way that women do. We just don't. So it's difficult.
Sometimes
It's a
there's
difficult
sports involved.
undertaking. Well, that's a different story. If we're at a sporting event, there's an asterisk that's a mile long on that one. So, yeah, but seriously, I mean, for a group just to get together and just to sort of be together as men, that's a quite the accomplishment to have been able to pull that together, Matt.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Oh yeah, look, I only hope that like that, either that group or that idea of what that group is doing will can help other people the way it's helped me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really amazing. So, I mean, congratulations to you. There are a lot of men listening. I know this for a fact that have tried to start their own men's groups, that are currently trying to start their own men's groups in different part of the country, that want to do in-person men's groups. Was there, let me pick your brain for a minute then, because, my
Sure.
men's group is online and we've got a really good men's group, that we do, but it's online. We're from all over the country, and we are a little more
Mhm.
structured. To do an in-person men's group like you're talking about is more difficult. Was there something that worked for you in terms of maybe getting it started, getting it put together? How do you get the guys contacted the first time, for instance, to get them on WhatsApp in the group? I mean, how'd you go about building it? Maybe a step or two to help some of these guys that are listening.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, it was kind of like I just had to come up. First of all, it was like I kind of went into it intentionally. It's one of those things. Being a guy, right? There's you're intentional about stuff, but then like when you're hanging out with other guys, you kind of got to be like non-intentional. Just kind of like, oh, what's up? Nothing, nothing. Yeah,
It's
cool,
casual. Yeah.
okay. Kind of gotta like you gotta walk that fine line. And if somebody gets invited, I was like, if somebody gets invited out of the blue to something that's to some if somebody gets invited out of the blue to something that's too involved and too formalized and too put together, like unlike you're gonna kind of your immediate like response is like it's like, oh my gosh, and so I was trying to kind of minimize that. I was trying to make it just like it's just a bunch of guys from the area that want to get together that all have, and I selected people who I didn't select people, but like I reached out to people who I knew were gonna be good connections. And a lot of us knew of each other either through the school community or like we're neighbors or we're just in the general area. So we all kind of like I knew everybody individually before, but then I started then I when I reached out to them and got them all together, I was like, I'm just gonna cross the streams, just gonna bring it all together, and we're all just gonna see what happens. And yeah, it took a little bit of leap of faith, but being intentional about like, okay, I'm gonna pick people who I think are gonna be a good fit. I'm gonna pick people who I know probably need it. We had a couple folks who joined because who came because I knew like they probably need I thought that they needed some fellowship, and some of them decided to stay and some of them said, yeah, no, this isn't for me, and then they went and did their own thing. That's fine. um, but yeah, like being intentional about that, being intentional about setting up how you're going to run it, and just making it as easy as possible for you and your group to just to commune and to share, and making it an open place where there's like at the beginning, I think the very first meeting, I haven't said it since the first meeting. I said, look, the rules here are just there's no commentary, there's no judgment. It's just we're just sharing stuff. If you got opinions, you got opinions, like that's okay. But everybody gets your 2 minutes. You talk about what's important to you, and or whatever, however long, and you share, and you can't ask questions until they're done sharing, and that's the deal. And so you give everybody whatever their time limit is, and then when they're done, then you ask your questions, and that's cool. And everybody was like, okay, great, that's fine. And then that set the tone, and after that, like we didn't actually have to revisit those rules. Even though we had new people come in, everybody kind of just got it. It was like, okay, we're all coming in and we're all just having our time, and everybody wants to hear about the follow-ups. And we get some guys we got a couple who are like really who are the couple who like who are just really talkative and love to share about all kinds of things and really help keep the conversation going. And other people just like they love to be there and they love to listen and they love to interact and engage when it's right for them. But it's interesting to see the different personalities come out, and then where the conversations end up. I mean, you just you start in one place and then you end up in a totally different part at the end of the night. So yeah, I guess my tips would just be try to be intentional about how you set it up, and but then yeah, just try to make it I'm not saying unassuming as possible, but just keep in mind, try to make it as approachable and open as you can. That'd be my advice, I guess.
Nice. I love that. I really do. I knew that you had that, but I didn't quite get exactly what your men's group was till you just told me about it. So that's incredibly impressive, Matt. That really is. And so, you know what? Power to you and kudos, man, because there are a lot of guys who try that sort of thing, and either it gets too rigid or it's not rigid enough, or it just there's a million things that can go wrong with that in-person stuff. And again, God's hand, because there must be something about you, brother. You must just have that personality that people just get drawn to. I don't know, but that's great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. We need more of that. We need more men's groups out there for sure.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll be your consultant if you want, but yeah.
Here he goes. It's business opportunity now. He's right on. All right. Do you do any coaching or anything like that? With part of this men's group?
no, that's actually an interesting idea. We haven't thought about it. I mean, at the moment, it's pretty much just a fellowship group, but yeah, it'd be interesting to be potentially interesting thing to explore either with the group or outside of the group somehow. Because there's definitely people who like we've had people who have come to the group who were really liked it and were really into it, but they're just like, look, it's just too far away. Like we had people driving 20, 30 minutes at some point, which might not seem like a lot, but it's for just to go hang out with guys on a Wednesday night. Sometimes it really depends. And so yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I haven't actually given a lot of thought to it, but at some point, yeah, maybe how do we take that message? How do we take that flame and then try to spread it or try to bring it to other people in certain ways, that might be valuable. Definitely things to think about. So yeah, who knows what the future holds, but I'm sure there's a way to do it. And there's definitely men out there who need, even if it's just that fellowship, and connection, that even that's really, really valuable. So yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we've talked about, you folks living on different continents. We've talked about, you doing the missionary work for the Mission Aviation Foundation. We've talked about you building a men's group, talked about parenting. As you look at your life, kind of as we wrap this up, I only have a couple questions left for you, but as you're sitting here looking at your life, what would you like to say is next for Matt?
What's next? Making it from one day to the next. No,
Small goals, man. That works.
every single day, every day is thing. Look, I think for me, looking back on my life, I guess where I want to go, I really want I guess the way I look at my life right now, I'm kind of in the summer of my life, right? Like we're talking about seasons. Like if I'm gonna, and this is one of the reasons I really chose to take that leap into the mission field like I'm doing right now. It's if I'm gonna do something with something big, this is the time to do it. And so for me, it's about trying to move from, I guess, strength to strength, or trying to continue to expand on what I love doing, like finding out, taking what I love about doing with the mission work and growing that somehow and doing that together with my family to make that successful a success, not just for me, but for them, and allowing them to learn and enable them for their strengths. And ultimately, at the end of the day, where I want to get to is, I want to be in a place where I'm letting, like I've done something in my life that I'm happy and proud of, and that I'm really excited and that I'm excited about, and that's something that I can share and pass on to my kids and or to the next generation or to the world. And I think like it can be, and that can be any. I mean, like for me, it's my mission. It's this mission work. It's this, helping other people, helping connect people. For somebody else, it might be something like starting a business or passing on, like, even these podcasts. Like these are recorded things that, like the next generation, who knows who's going to pick this up in, 20, 30 years and
Yeah.
and reflect on it and think about it. So yeah, so for me, like I see trying to live my life as fully as I can without putting too much on my plate, because I tend to do that. But yeah, like really, really just engaging with the direction that God's calling me, and trying to help as many people as I can along the way.
Nice. All right, great answer. Next to last question. How do people reach you? Can they contribute to your mission? The whole nine yards, give me some contact information that we can include for these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my contact information I can share with you. I'm at a Matthew.Sampias at mafint.org. So that's Mission Aviation Fellowship International. I'll share that link as well. So we're just a quick plug for MAF. We like to call it MAF. So we're a mission aviation group. We've got 115 airplanes flying in 14 different countries throughout the world, connecting isolated 25 over 2,500 isolated communities throughout the world. Those are people who don't have access to medical care. Those are people who don't have access to markets, people who don't have access to schools. Our aircraft provide the lifeline for them to be able to access these things. And we're talking about people in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. We're talking about people in the deserts of Chad and in Central Africa. We're talking about people in refugees in South Sudan and communities cut off. Even in Australia, here in Arnhem Land, we fly out to disconnected communities to bring them education and healthcare. So so all that said, we need a lot of support to do our work. And so if anybody is interested in mission work or looking for an adventure, or looking to support an adventure, please look no further than MAF, mafint.org. And yeah, it's there's a lot of fun things you can read about on our website, and I'm happy to connect with anybody on LinkedIn or via email if you want. So there you go.
Wonderful. All right. And Matt's going to get me all these links, folks. So those will be in the show notes. We'll make sure we have those out for everybody. A lot of great causes. Matt, let me give you our last question here. And I just want to go ahead and see if there's, anything that's still on your heart. We talked about a lot, and I appreciate you sharing everything you have today. It's been a lot of fun talking to you and getting to know you and just kind of, having you share your story with guys that I know are going to get a lot out of it. Maybe a parting thought, for our guys that are out there, whether it's about the men's group or about, faith or marriage or cross-continental relationships, whatever's on your heart right now, wherever that Holy Spirit's taking you, go ahead and anything that you got, go ahead and close us out.
Sure. Look, Rory, I've watched a couple of your episodes in preparation for this. You've got some amazing guys who come on your show, and you got some really amazing stories kicking around. The thing I would say to anybody listening is, whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're thinking about, wherever your head's at, um, you know, just listen to some of these stories that are coming to you and coming on your podcast, and let those help. Let reflect on those, think about those, and let those help inform you and help direct you in your life as you discern and decide what you want to do. Because life is full of decisions. Life is dynamic, especially today. Life is dynamic. Life is also connected. So use that connection and use that connection to your advantage, and really think about what it is you're being called to do, and have the courage to reflect and to listen, and then to decide what steps right for you.
Thank you for that, brother. I appreciate that. And a great closeout. So, folks, Matt Sampias, thank you for being on, brother. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Rory.
You got it. Folks, that's been another powerful episode of the Power Man podcast. And the reason we bring these powerful men on here with these powerful messages is because we are united in hoping that you find your power so that you can be a better protector, better provider, better leader tomorrow than you are today, so that you can be a better father, a better husband, a better man tomorrow than you are today. The reason that we want that for you is because you matter. It's because you have value, and it's because you're worth it. And at some point, you just have to believe it. Until next time.